Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1373B, and today's date is September 7th, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Great Rotation Has Begun. Countries Now Moving Towards China and Russia. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, it looks like there's going to be a showdown in Spain because what is happening right now, the Catalan Parliament, they approved a referendum that would allow a vote on the region's independence from Spain. Now, they're trying this once again, and we can see that Spain, well, they're trying to stop this. They don't want this to happen. So the Spanish government has accused the Catalan Parliament of committing a constitutional and democratic atrocity by approving legislation to allow next month's bitterly disputed independence referendum to go ahead. Now, the Spanish Prime Minister is saying that he wants the government lawyers to file a complaint with the country's constitutional court to basically annul this referendum and have it stop completely. And right now, this is all about independence because Catalonia is the industrial superstate of Spain. And Spain doesn't want to lose the taxes from this area because what we're seeing is that they receive about 20% of tax revenue from Catalonia. And we see at this point that Catalonia wants to be separate and apart because it's a very wealthy part of Spain, and they don't need to be part of Spain right now. This doesn't mean that they're going to automatically join the EU. They'd have to apply as a separate country to the EU if they actually do split apart. So we can see right now they're pushing their agenda. They want independence. And we've seen this before in Ukraine. Crimea wanted to be separate and apart from Ukraine. The southeastern people in Ukraine wanted this. We see that there was a referendum in the UK with Scotland, and we're going to see many other countries, say we want our independence right now. We don't want to be part of this country, and we're going to see a lot of changes moving forward. Now, out in Saudi Arabia, we can see that they are making preparations for the king of Saudi Arabia to visit Russia in late October. Now, this visit has been anticipated for a long time. This will be the first time a Saudi king visits Russia. And Russia wants to partner with the kingdom. They're going to be talking about trade deals. They're going to be talking about oil. And they're going to be talking about many different things. And what we're seeing right now is that there's a lot of countries out there that are moving towards Russia and China, making bilateral trade agreements, joining the Belt and Road, and they're moving away from the U.S. and the dollar. We see Egypt is doing this, Iran is doing this, Iraq is doing this, Syria is doing this, and we can see that Saudi Arabia is doing this, Qatar is doing this, and many other countries are looking at this saying, okay, we need to start making deals with these individuals. We need to make sure that we basically insure our country against the dollar dying. That's what we are seeing right now. Now, Jimmy Carter is out there, and he's saying that North Korea, they actually want a peace deal. They don't want war. He says he's visited North Korea like 3 times or so, and way back, he met with many different leaders, and they want some type of peace deal here with the United States. They're not trying to have war, but what they've seen is the United States, the cabal, go into countries and have regime change. This is why they're ramping up their nuclear program. This is why they're ramping up their missile program. And what he's saying is that during all these visits, the North Koreans emphasized that they wanted a peaceful relations with the United States and their neighbors, but were convinced that we planned a preemptive military strike against their country. They wanted a peace treaty, especially with America, to replace the ceasefire agreement that had existed since the end of the Korean War in 1953. And they wanted to put an end to the economic sanctions because they've been very damaging to them during the long interim period. And they want to have peaceful negotiations. But what we see happening here is the United States has continually pushing the agenda of provoking North Korea with South Korea. And this has been going on since Obama. And right now, they want to calm the situation down. Now, North Korea's representative at the Eastern Economic Forum has given his public statement to journalists saying that, yes, they want to join with Russia and China. They want plans for the trilateral economic cooperation between Russia and the two Korean states. So Kim Young-jae said the following: "We are not opposed to trilateral cooperation with Russia and South Korea, but this is not an appropriate situation for this to be implemented." He continued, "We severely condemned attempts by South Korea and Japan to use the EEF for their impure political purposes. Their attacks against self-defensive measures to strengthen the DPRK's nuclear deterrent forces, they are clearly at variance with the purpose and nature of our forum, where economic cooperation between the Russian Far East and Asian countries is discussed." And they're saying that they are up for this, they would like this, but the ball is largely in South Korea's court, it's in the United States court, and they would like a peaceful resolution. They want to talk about this, and we can see they're making strides to move in this direction, but the cabal doesn't want this to happen. They are pushing back. We see the South Korean president, well, they're interested in signing a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. That has to do with China and Russia, and we can see right now, South Korea, North Korea, the rest of the countries that I mentioned, they're all making deals with China and Russia. They understand what is happening here, and they're moving in this direction. Now, out in Syria, well, it looks like the Islamic State is pretty much done. The cabal basically is evacuating a lot of the commanders right now. And what's being reported is that a U.S. Air Force aircraft evacuated 20 Islamic State field commanders from the Syrian city of Deir Ezor. Remember, the Syrian forces, the Russian forces, they broke through here, and they are liberating all these areas. And they're saying that during the middle of the night, they spotted U.S. aircrafts evacuating the Islamic State. And we know that the cabal is going to be taking care of their paid mercenaries. And they've been basically doing a mop-up job right now in Syria. And what the sources are saying is that the U.S. Air Force helicopter had evacuated 2 Islamic State field commanders of the European origin with members of their families from an area located to the northwest of Deir Ezor at night, and others were also evacuated. So we can see right now they're doing this huge mop-up operation. And from all of this and what we're seeing right now is that the cabal, they have pretty much nothing left. Their power is dwindling right now. Even the corporate media doesn't know what to do. North Korea, I don't believe we're going to war at all. I think this whole thing is being pushed by the cabal. The corporate media is making it a lot worse than it really is. When we really look at what North Korea is doing, we understand this. China and Russia, I mean, they border North Korea right now, and they're the ones who are controlling the entire situation. The cabal really doesn't have that much control. Yes, they're placing more sanctions on North Korea. China and Russia reject the sanctions because really, at this point, what are they really going to do? They're not really going to do anything to help the situation. They're just going to make the situation a lot worse, and North Korea is not going to fold. So none of that's going to happen. But what we do see happening right now is that a lot of bankers, a lot of financial pundits, they're starting to realize that there's many bubbles in the market. They're starting to realize that you might want to start ramping up on gold and silver precious metals to ensure your wealth. We realize that everything is moving from the west to the east. We see a lot of countries, they are talking to Russia and China, they're joining the Belt and Road, and we can see that this has been going along for quite a while. I mean, we've been reporting on this. This is not something that happens overnight. A lot of people sit here and say, well, oh, you've been talking about this for a very long time. Well, to pump the bubbles up, it takes quite a long time to make everyone feel very comfortable, secure that the economy is doing well, to pump the stock market back up, and to make everyone believe that everything is fine. Why do they do this? Why does it take so long? Because when the economy was dead in the water in 2008, they had to pump a lot of funds. They had to create a lot of stimulus. They had to bring the economy back up to where it was before, or to make people think that's where it was before, and they had to do a lot of manipulation. This takes time. Think about all of the toxic real estate these central banks had to purchase, all the bonds they had to purchase. And here we are at the end. Now they know that stimulus is not going to do anything anymore. I mean, all they can do is keep this economy at this level. And as they keep it at this level, what happens? Retail falls apart. Revenue coming into corporations, guess what? Non-existent. tax revenues coming into the government, non-existent. More people are losing jobs. The only thing they have left right now is the stock market, maybe the bond market, and the manipulation. That is it. Everything else around them is completely falling apart. Now, if they pull the plug on stimulus, what happens to the markets? They implode. And then basically the covers are pulled back, and we know what's really going on here, because once you pull the covers back, you see the real economy. And everyone says, oh my God, look what just happened here. All these companies are laying off. They're closing these plants. Retail is a disaster. Housing market is a disaster. And all these manipulated statistics, they're all fake. And this is what they're trying to protect against, because they realize that if they do this, they will be blamed. This is why the cabal, the central banks, have been pushing so hard to get some type of an event, because they want to shift everything away from what is happening. But we've been looking at the nitty-gritty. We've been looking at what has been going on, and we've been tracking it and following it. And what we've been seeing is that it's all been coming true. Retail is dying very slowly. The housing market is falling apart. These GDP numbers are completely fake, phony, and false. The unemployment numbers are fake, phony, and false. We look at the federal tax receipts coming in. Guess what? They're declining. Corporate revenue, declining. The entire real economy has been declining. Just like if we followed this back in 2005, 2006, 2007, we would have seen the same exact pattern. And those individuals who thought that everything was fine leading up to 2008, well, they were shocked in 2008. We're doing the same exact thing. Yes, have they gotten better at manipulating? Have they gotten better at telling their lies? Absolutely. They've learned how to manipulate everything a little bit more since 2008, going all the way back to 29. And they've learned all throughout this period of time. And what they can't stop is the real economy deteriorating. They can't stop everything being moved from the west to the east. They can't stop countries from having bilateral trade agreements with Russia and China. And this is what we are seeing right now. So it looks like we are at the end stage of all of this. The cabal, they're losing their power. Everything is being shifted. What's happening, what we're seeing right now, is the great rotation has begun. Everything is rotating. Everything is going to be reset. And it's just a matter of time. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.